Hey people, D-Man here. Today I am reviewing Steven Universe episode 18, 19, and 20, the final episode of Steven Universe Future. This is a review. By the way, spoilers if you haven't watched it, go watch it first and come back and watch this review because obviously you want to know what I have opinions on. So, this is the final episodes for Steven Universe Future. Unless they make episodes in the future, which they might because they did, they're doing that for Adventure Time. So maybe in like a year or two or three, they might start making more episodes of Steven Universe. Just maybe a different format. Maybe a future. Okay, so, by the way, this is not my last video on this. I'm going to have two more videos, a review of the series and a review, not a review, a top 10 songs. But anyways, let's talk about Steven Universe Future and how good it was or how bad it was. It was disappointing. These last three episodes were very disappointing. The fourth one came out like on Monday, I think it was. It was interesting. Very interesting. Made me get excited for the last episodes. And then these last episodes came out and very disappointing. These last episodes are very disappointing. Steven Universe managed to do it again, what I feared they were gonna do, what they did with Diamond Days and all their other, most of all their other like climactic season endings. They had a whole bunch of I guess this time it was better than just like the Townie episodes, like the filler Townie episodes. In my personal opinion, that's what I call them. This time it was slightly better, but they had a whole bunch of episodes that probably shouldn't have been there. They should have had like more impactful episodes, and then they kind of rushed the end, like they always do. And it's kind of sad because this is the last time we're gonna see it. So they kind of just went like, "Hey, let's put all this stuff in," and then at the end we're just gonna go, "Snap, it's done." And it's gone. So that's upsetting. It's very disappointing. Not to say that it wasn't good, but then again, it wasn't the best either. I also saw a tweet from one of them. I don't know if it was Rebecca Sugar or one of the artists or something like that, or writers. They said all answered would be answered. All questions would be answered at this point. And no, all the questions were answered. Not at all. Not at all. Like, the chest in Lion's Mane, the black dome that's in the middle of that field with a crater, that thing's not answered for. Some of the murals aren't answered for. The squirrel from season 1 and the black dome from season 1 too. The squirrel from season 1 that Garnet has to burn, that's also not answered for. Yeah, so some stuff is definitely not answered for. Well, other stuff, I guess you could say, like, technically it's answered for. The reveal that it was Steven, we kind of all knew it was coming at a certain point. We're kind of all just like, yeah, it's probably Steven. He's probably going to get corrupted because of his mind. Kind of sad, in a way. I want it to be more impactful. Like, it would have been even better if Steven, like, messed up, because in the 18th episode, he came back and he was just like, no, I'm fine, everything's fine. It's probably the better of all the episodes. He's just like, no, I'm fine, everything's fine. He tried to go, like, everything was fine and stuff like that. It would have been cool to see him, like, accidentally hit, like, a gem and make them into a giant monster. That would have been like, oh my goodness, Steven, you messed up again. And then we have to deal with the consequences, and we have to finally deal with Steven. That would be awesome. But, no, that didn't happen. It's just Steven turns into the monster. Oh, he's so sad, and he thinks he's a monster, and that was probably one of the best parts when he's like, like, you guys don't even understand. Like, I did this, I'm a horrible person, sort of thing. That was, like, the best part of this, all 3 episodes. And then at the end, he turns into a monster. The diamonds come, they try to help him, they all cry and say, this is all my fault, everybody's trying to make it about them. So Connie's just like, hey, shut up, let's help Steven. And then they help Steven, he turns back, and Then at the end, he's moving out and he's leaving and he's going on a journey to find himself and become better. And he actually has a therapist because, he should have had this a long time ago and people should have realized this, but whatever. I guess cartoon logic. I mean, I guess that does happen in real life when people do need help. Sometimes they just don't get the help they need, and although Steven should because his dad's rich, most of the time people don't get the help they need because they're poor, and sometimes it's because they don't accept it. I guess Steven didn't accept it, so you could say, like, he didn't accept it, that's why he didn't get help. But all this could have been avoided, to be honest. Like, it really could have been avoided just by talking it out with people, perhaps getting a therapist, as I previously said, which was kind of why it was so lackluster, to be honest. It was just like, Steven, you have these powers, you're changing all this stuff, it's really cool, it's all leading up to something, but then they super rushed it, which is a big problem. And also, it was such a, not like it's not a problem that people have, because it is a problem that people have. It's just disappointing that they went this route, because it's such like a problem that you could fix, and especially with the money that Steven's dad has. It's like a problem that you could fix, and it would have been much interesting to have like a different plot line. But nah, they didn't do that. Like, my personal favorite one was when I first saw like the intro of Steven Universe Future, and I saw that giant worm thing. Or the giant dragon, whatever you want to call it, giant dinosaur-looking pink thing that Steven turned into. I thought, and I was hoping, that was the creators of the Diamonds coming and saying, like, hey, what are you guys doing? You're supposed to be doing this stuff and not this stuff, and you guys are doing this stuff and not this stuff, you know what I mean? Now, that would have been cool. That would have been interesting and awesome, and we would have had to deal with Steven's problems, but at the same time, we would have to deal with this entity that's coming that's even stronger than the Diamonds, and it would have been like, oh my goodness, this is going to be awesome. But instead, it's just like, nah, Steven just has problems, and he needs help. And he doesn't want to get help, so he turns into a monster. Not that... It's okay, but disappointing at the same time. It could have been so much better. Like, this could have been, like, a cause of Steven trying to help. He could have, like, tried to help and hit a gem. I already said this, obviously. Like, hit a gem and then turn them into a giant monster and be like, oh my goodness, and realize he needed help. But, yeah, I don't know. It was okay, but at the same time, disappointing, very fast-paced, and I gotta say, you left on a whimper, guys. You left on a whimper, in my personal opinion. It kind of reminds me of BoJack Horseman's ending. Like, they had such a good build-up, and then that second to last episode was fantastic, and then the ending is just like, no, he's still alive, nothing happened. Everything's gonna go back to normal, except maybe he'll be silver this time. You know what I mean? BoJack Horseman had like such a good second last episode, and then it's just like, oh, ruined it. Steven Universe, it had like such good potential, and the fourth last episode with the Diamonds was like, oh my goodness, and then that 18th episode was like, oh my goodness, and then those last two episodes was just like, so predictable. Like, you know that was gonna come. You know what I mean? It just kind of flopped. Like, it seems to be a problem with Steven Universe. They always do these really long episodes that don't really matter, and then at the end, they're like, hey, at the end, we're gonna make it so we rush it really fast. You know, like, here's 1,000 Townie episodes that you don't need, but we only get 4 episodes for the ending. So we gotta rush it. It would have been better if, like, this was, like, I don't know, like, a good chunk of the episode would have been better, but, That's all I can say, really. He turns into a monster. There's not really even a fight. There's kind of a fight. And then he kind of just turns back after everybody hugs him and stuff, which is kind of ridiculous, but whatever. But, you know, yeah. I didn't want to like be like, oh, that's the Steven universe, me. But it's just a me. Ending of Steven Universe was a me. Good show, good plot lines, a lot of good things in it, but just the execution of it was just, it was just, like the execution of the whole thing was just. I'll talk about more of this in my series review when I talk about the whole show in the whole seasons, like from 1 all the way to future. But disappointing, but at the same time, I guess they ended it on something. And maybe in the future they'll have a few episodes, and maybe we'll see Steven with a kid. That would be pretty cool. Steven and Connie with a kid. Maybe we'll even get a spin-off where Steven's kid has to fight monsters or something. I don't know. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Hit that bell notification, or go to my channel and hit that bell notification, because this is for everybody. Link down below to my Twitter. And as always, my friends, stay sane. Peace. Hey guys, this video is meant for all ages, although I do have videos meant for the older variety. Check out my channel to watch those. But since it's meant for all ages and YouTube doesn't have a button to click for all ages, they only have younger or older, I have to click the younger because some stupid stuff will happen if I don't. But that means some features are removed. Hopefully it still gets to everyone the same, young and old, but that's beside the point. That means comments are no longer there. But don't worry, I have a Twitter, so you can go down to the link below to my Twitter and comment on that, because there will be a tweet about this video. So yeah, go down there and go to my Twitter.